Welcome, welcome. So today is part 2 of grading, and the reason it needed to be in 2 parts is I really needed you to understand the basics of grading, the splitting, the cutting, the spreading, that grading isn't fitting. All of those basics are really important, and to take you through that process, I wanted you to really understand how it works. I am a person who believes, and if I understand why, then I can do it. If I don't understand why, and you just tell me step A, B, C, I have a very difficult time. I need the logic, I need all of that. And so I'm hopeful that as I teach, that's how I teach. It's important to me, and so I feel like it's important in the learning process. Having said that, today what I want to do is show you the practical application of it, so how it can work with silhouette patterns. So when we're on the set of Fit to Stitch, PBS is very careful, very liturgically worded about that we cannot talk or bring silhouette patterns into the conversation. It's about education. It's not about educating you on silhouette patterns. So I'm very cautious with that. It's taken us a lot of years to get where we are with this show. And so I now, on YouTube, here can bring it to where I can show you application with silhouette patterns, and that's what I want to do today. Everything will come together for you. I feel quite comfortable that it will, and I really appreciate your patience, and it's exciting to learn this information. And again, I think once you see this, you'll see, wow, that's why, there's lots of holes that it fills, and that's, the goal of education. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring you close. You're going to see my talking hands, and I'm going to walk you through this process. And then if you have questions, you can always email me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com. All right, thanks. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to start with a sleeve. The reason we grade is we grade for circumference. We do not grade for depth. We do not grade for length. We grade for circumference. Circumference as we go around the edges is what changes. So I'm going to start with the sleeve. There's no reason why I'm starting with the sleeve. I just chose 3 different pieces. I'm going to do a front, 2 fronts, one with a French dart and one with a sleeve. One with the sleeve, one regular darted front, and then a French dart. And I'm using 600 as an example just for now because there's some information that I want to show you that you'll need to have some numbers to compare it to. Okay, so again, the reason I'm grading is because I need more circumference. It is important to know where you're at and where you need to be. And that's why I say, you guys, a lot of times I say, know what you need, know what you need. If you make a size, like for instance, this is going to start with a size 8. If you make a size 8, but you don't know how much bigger you need, you're spending a lot of time doing something that you might not even need to do, or it's not going to be right when you get it done. So I always think it's imperative to know where you are and know where you need to go. In this case, I'm going to add 1 inch to the circumference of the largest size. So the very first thing you do is you're going to want to connect these points. And we're going to call these plot points. Anywhere on a pattern, what you'll see is between where the sizes change angles, you can draw a straight line. Okay, between the sizes, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, you can draw a straight line. So you want to do that. You want to do that all the way around the pattern. You just want to connect the straight lines. Let's see, I'm going to use a pen that maybe you can see a little bit better. You can do a straight line. So you'll want to do that with the notches also, because the notches grade at the same percent of whatever I decide them to grade that I give the grading company. Now remember, in this case, I'm the designer. I'm the one who gives the grade to the company who does the grading company, and they merely put them in. So we make this pattern. In this particular case, we make the patterns in 2 sizes. We make it in the 4 to 18, and then we make it in the 1 to 4, and then we make it in the 5 to 8. And we make the base in the 2, and we make the base in the 6. We have fit models. They come in, we drape them, and then we grade it out based on our grade. Grades are different, obviously, by the designer. And why I think that's important is if you just look quickly, this is the sweater set, you can see that the side seam and the shoulder grade are not the same. And that's because we all know that you all get larger in the bust without getting wider in the shoulder. So grade is very important. And I think personally our patterns, our silhouette patterns do an outstanding job of grading. Once you have these plot points marked, you simply can take between the last grade, which is a 1/2 inch between each size, and you go out that much more. So that's there because I want to increase an inch. So I take the inch that I want, and I've got one seam but two parts. So I put a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. And that's going to give me the 1 inch circumference that I need. Once I do that, I can simply connect those dots. Those are on the straight edges. Then on the curved edges, I'm going to use my French curve. And again, I'm going to measure the distance between this dot and go out one more time. I would always, which is 3/8 of an inch, I would always recommend that you go out in the same increments of what we have on the pattern. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's say, forget the numbers, and then I need to actually go down. I figure out how much I need to go down. I'll say an inch. Then I figure out how many sizes are up an inch. It would be 2, because there's a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. So I wouldn't measure to the next one. I would go 2 and then go down that same amount. So you look to see how it's going up, and you would go down that exact same amount. And that kind of stuff is just really easy to do. You just have to think about it. Okay, here what I do now, I've got this plot point here. I've figured out how far they are apart up here. They're a 1/4 inch. So I go up there. Again, I follow my line. I take the difference and I go up that same amount. I follow the line here between these two sizes and I go up that amount. I'm going to do several examples just to make sure we get the right concept. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the curve on the original. And if you notice, it goes 21 to 18. Now I'm going to move that out to my 2 new points, putting 21 here and it there. That's my new size. Then I'm going to take my French curve and go this way and then move it again to my 2 new points. And you can see that I have that sleeve grading exactly as it was. It's just going up one more size. And so it's giving me the extra circumference that I need. Now, it could be that I don't like the cap height. Those things I can change through the fitting process, but this is just giving me that extra circumference that I need, and I can go from there. And there we have our new, we'll call it a size 9, whatever we have. Okay, then I want to bring and do another one, and we'll do the same thing. This one I have enough tissue on, so I'm not even going to put it, I'm not going to tape it down. But the reason I put it on white is just so you can see it a little bit easier. Notice this pattern right here. It doesn't grade in length. There's no length grade. So if I want to add length, I would just add to the bottom. But you do see with this French dart that you've got a bend here. That's a plot point. You've got a bend here at the end of the dart. Anywhere where you can draw a straight line, you want to extend it out because that means an angle was changed and you want to change with that angle. There's a notch. I'm going to use that as well. The bottom of the armhole, let's just look at that carefully so I can see. I want to find a straight line between all the bottoms of the armholes. I want to find a straight line between all the notches. I want to find a straight line between the corner of the shoulder. Again, on the neckline. And that's it. Center front doesn't grade. So now I've got all those lines drawn. I can come and simply say, how much do I want to add? And then go down the same amount and go up. So I'm just going to come up the same difference between the 3 and the 4. I'm going to go from the 4 to the 5. So the 3 to the 4 changes 3/4 of an inch. And so I'm going to add another 3/4 of an inch. Here between the 3 and the 4, that's 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to add 3/4 of an inch. Every time I've got a line, figure out the difference and then come out that exact amount. Then what you're going to do is just play dot to dot. You're just literally going to connect the dots. From here, you notice the pattern goes up to there, up to the dot of the dart. So again, that's 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to come along my line 3/4 of an inch. And I would go from this point here to that point right there. So follow the line. Now I've got to come down to this line, which is here. So I can connect that dot. Then I've got this funky little thing there. I'm going to again measure between the 3 and the 4. It's 3/4 of an inch in this case. So I know this goes like that. And now it goes up to this notch. I want to measure between the 3 and the 4. It's 3/4 of an inch here. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to lay my French curve down because my line starts to get a little curve now. And then I'm going to find the angle and simply bring it out to my new dots. Okay. Then I just continue. I'll look at the difference between the 3 and the 4. Now keep in mind that if there's 3/4 of an inch at one side seam, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 side seams, that means the difference between on the back of the pattern would be 3 inches. I don't know that that's necessarily critical, but you've got to know where you're at and where you're going. Find the original French curve line and connect it up. So you can see here that there is my whole new size. We'll call it 5, not a W, but you can just follow right along. It's bringing everything out just a little bit, and I'm going to continue to do the armhole. Because you notice when we were lower, it was 3/4 of an inch, but here you notice at the shoulder seam, it's only 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to follow the angle of the line. I'm going to go up 3/8 of an inch. I might have said something different, but it's 3/8 of an inch different, so I'm going to go up. I'm going to look over here at the base of the neck. It's only a 1/4 inch difference. So I'm going to go there. So this line, I'll connect between these two dots because it's a straight angle line. I go between the notches. I find the difference there to be 3/4 of an inch. So on that line, I'll continue to come out 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm ready to draw the armhole. I find on the French curve where that is, and I connect. Now keep in mind, you're doing this on your bases. You don't have to certainly do this every time you sit down to sew a pattern. You just want to get your bases accomplished so that you can take your style and go elsewhere with it. So you see that's a beautiful new armhole that is in scale and proportion to the rest of this pattern. If we look at the neckline, you can see there's my new position. I can take the French curve, lay it down, and simply move it to my new dot. And there I have graded it all the way around. Notice it's a little bit wider, it's a little bit longer in through the shoulder, it's a little bit wider in through the shoulder. Remember that we're not considering fit issues, we're only grading in circumferences to get that larger size. Okay, now I know because you can watch this over and over, you don't necessarily need me to stop or pause. So I'm going to do a blouse now, same thing. This is a W size. We're going to theorize that we need more circumference. And so that's why we're grading it out. There would be no other reason that you would grade it except for circumference. We call it sizing, whatever it is. On the back of this pattern, in the bust, the circumference is 55. The difference between the 7 and the 8, I moved this out of the way, sorry. The difference between the 7 and the 8 is 4 inches. So if you notice, there's a 1 inch increment at each seam, both sides and front and back. That gives us our 4 inches. So I start off, I'm going to connect all those sizes. I want to make sure you can see that. I'm going to connect where I can get through those point of the underarm, where I can connect all sizes. I'm going to draw a straight line. Draw it out far enough that when I see there's an inch between these two, I can go 1 more inch. I didn't actually bring it out quite far enough. I'm just going to do that again. So that's why I put the paper behind it. Sometimes on the tissue, you're not going to have enough. Okay, there's my inch. All right, so with the dart, I'm going to take it between the straight line first. I'm going to call them your guidelines. Draw your guidelines first. Go between all the graded sizes. You'll find a straight common line between all your graded sizes. Then I can go out 1 inch on each piece. And then I can duplicate the line that's here, and I can play dot to dot. Okay, if you're coming here, again, pick up the differences in the sizes. What's the measurement between here and here? It's 1 inch. And I can connect it with a straight line from this point to this point. If you go up to the shoulder again, we'll look at how to do that. You can see you've got the 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's the corner of the shoulder. You're going to extend it out. The base of the neckline here, you're going to connect that again. Connect all 4 lines with a straight line. Measure the difference between the 7 and the 8. You know you're going out 1 more size. That's a 1/2 inch. Go out a 1/2 inch more. So you see where the shoulder was a 1/2 inch and the side seam was 1 inch. Use your notches. Your notches will help you know where to grade it out and continue to make the armhole, the shoulder seam, and the neckline. All right? So hopefully that wraps up all the grading so that you'll understand exactly. You are grading for circumference. You are not grading for depth. You are not grading for length. You are grading for circumference. Length can be added at the bottom or can be added internally. That's not why we grade. We grade for circumference. So from Silhouette Patterns, happy sewing. Thanks for watching. Bye.